Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to tonight's full council meeting on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023. The meeting, and I'm chairing the meeting today, as some of you might be aware that Councillor Dennis Staines-Francis is unwell and unable to tonight's meeting, so I'm sure that we'd all like to pass on our best wishes to him and hope for a speedy recovery. So, to item 1, to receive apologies for absence. Over to you, Pete.
That's Councillors Staines-Francis, Yates, Messon, Pratt and Chapman.
Thank you. Any more?
Oh, that's everyone, Councillor.
Thank you. To note, item 2, to note declarations of members' interests. Have any members got any interest as related to the published agenda? And that's a no. So, item 3, to confirm and sign the minutes of the Crewe Town Council meeting held on the 13th of July. June, sorry. To seek a proposer and a seconder for the minutes. Do I have a proposer? Seconder, Kevin? All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Right. Item 4, public participation. A period not exceeding 15 minutes for the members of the public to ask questions or submit comments in relation to the published agenda items. The clerk will advise of any public speaking.
Yep, we have one submitted question from a resident, and that question is: now that the heritage wall is on view to the public, what is the Town Council's opinion of the finished artwork?
But as a town council, I don't think we made a corporate decision either way on it. As individuals were asked to comment on the designs. So whether anybody wants to, at this time, respond. Councillor Houston.
Thank you, Chair. I actually saw it yesterday from the top of the 84 bus leaving the bus station and going past quite slowly, so I had a good look at it. I was very pleased and relieved. And that is the finished finished product. I'm very grateful to Councillor Bratherton, who alerted a lot of Cheshire East councillors and other people who would have had an interest in representing the town to the fact that these designs were going through, and that was about 18 months ago, I think. And the original designs that were being put forward, when we actually looked at them, I can only speak for myself as an individual, when I looked at them, I was mystified and confused. I misread the sign and thought, what bad grammar. I won't go into explaining why that was. To me it was quite a strange design. But the person who had been appointed to come up with that design, we did have then opportunities. There was a public meeting, I believe, and there were certainly consultations where councillors were able to see a presentation. And having heard the explanation from that designer of her thinking behind it and all the work she'd done in preparation, and she presented lots of images and quite a few different ideas about how the sign, the colours and the textures and different things and the images on it. And at that point, myself as a councillor, as a town councillor and a Cheshire East councillor, and indeed as a resident, I was able to comment on those. And I do feel that the comments received from members and from the public were taken on board. And I think that the final design, and now having seen it on display, I feel that it is a good representation of the heritage of Crewe. And as a heritage wall, I am personally quite pleased with it.
Right, is there anybody else who'd like to comment before we move on? Okay, thank you. Item 5, to receive updates from the committee chairs in relation to meetings held since the Crewe Town Council meeting on the 13th of June. Committee Finance and Governance, could I ask Councillor Jill Rhodes to propose the recommendations?
I'd like to propose the recommendations as per item 5A.1, that the reviewed governance documents, document management policy, emergency plan, personal data breach policy, equal opportunities and diversity policy, council code of conduct, sponsorship policy, treasury management policy are recommended for adoption.
Can I seek a seconder to that, please? Councillor Hogburn. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? No. Thank you. Committee Operations and Improvement. These minutes are to be noted and there's no need for a vote or resolution required. Marketing and Events. Can I ask Councillor Martin Edwards to propose a recommendation?
Thank you. We have one item for consideration. We would like that the provision of an earmarked reserve is established to build a fund for the purposes of developing and delivering Crewe's bicentennial events and activities.
Can I seek a seconder? All those in favour? Carried. Planning Committee, can I call upon Councillor John Rhodes? There's no, these minutes to be noted and no vote or resolution is required. Community Plan, as Chair, I'd like to propose the item for consideration that the grants guidance policy is recommended to the Council for adoption. Second it. All those in favour? Anyone against? Is that carried?
Irene, are you?
In fact, right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And Personnel Committee, these minutes are to be noted and there's no need for any vote or resolution required. Item 6, to note any updates from members having attended external meetings. Is there anybody who would like to give any updates? No. Item 7, to note, consider and approve payments between the 1st of April 2023 to the 1st of August 23 as per governance to the value of £297,602.02. Can I call upon the Chair of Finance and Governance to propose the payments?
Happy to propose, Chair.
And seconded. All those in favour? That's carried. Item 8, to consider the adoption of the Corporate Strategy 2024 to 2028 as recommended by the Finance and Governance Committee. Call upon Councillor Rhodes as Chair of Finance Committee to propose the propose.
Does the clerk wish to make any comments?
I can, yeah. The corporate strategy is something that has been developed over a period of time. The pre-existing one that we work to right now represents an administration prior to the May elections. Following the May elections, it was circulated for consultation with members a number of times, with amendments associated that reflect those principles that members were elected on. The amendments that were submitted to me from those levels of consultation have been included in that document and since circulated, and here you have it. It's been through Finance and Governance as well. It is a living document. It will be reviewed annually, so you'll be checking up on whether we're delivering as you would direct us to, as well as if it can be amended or improved in any way. But as it stands now, it's presented to you as a document that's been through those levels of check and challenge.
Could I have a seconder, please?
We're going to have any discussion at all?
Open to discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Hogben.
Yeah, I'm happy to second the proposal. But I think what the clerk has just said is an important point, that this is a living document. It's not set in stone. Well, it will be reviewed again next year. But I would suggest this is very early in the life of this administration, isn't it? You know, about half the council have been here just 5 or 6 months, like myself. So there's ample opportunity over the coming months, and I honestly suggest that that members, keep an eye on this, not just monitoring it. I mean, that's important to do, to see whether we're actually delivering, but also to see if there are new or changed priorities that emerge, and that's something obviously that will will need to be the subject of thought and discussion over a period of time. Having said that, I'm happy to second the adoption of this living document. Famous phrase, that, I think.
Okay, all those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9, to consider the adoption of the medium-term financial plan 2024 to 2028 as recommended by the Finance and Governance Committee. Councillor Rhodes.
Might I talk to it again?
Yes,
Councillor?
please.
Yeah.
Bart,
I
thank you.
apologise, Chair. The medium-term financial strategy, or financial plans, I've termed it, is a document that seeks to consider the influences on the council's potential finances and its current financial situation. Crewe Town Council is for its scale, a relatively strong financial position, and it's advisable to keep it that way as long as it's possible. The medium-term financial plan sets out anything that might affect that as we can perceive it. Things that have affected it in the past included obviously Brexit and COVID. Those influences are diminishing, but we're addressing a situation whereby potentially a principal authority is becoming more challenged by the national financial picture. And it indicates a principle of restraint or otherwise associated with how we'll set precept in future years to come, to ensure that we have a general understanding, or again not fixed in stone, about expectations of any need, if there is any, for precept amendments. Again, it's been through a couple of levels of looking at. I'm happy to answer any questions on it. It's part of our practice of having substantial and robust financial management documents that we can always refer to and check and challenge the officers of fulfilling them.
Do we have any questions or comments? Take it to the vote.
If I may, also this is reviewed annually as well, just to reassure you.
So Jill has proposed this. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hogben. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 10, to consider the budget setting process for financial year 2024-25 as recommended by the Finance and Governance Committee. Pete.
Okay. You have to forgive me, I forgot my glasses. I can't see if that's page 95 or 85 in your pack. That's one of those two. The budget setting process is something we address relatively early, again in the aims to make sure we've got some proper practice and check on how we set budgets. The budgets go to committees twice prior to going to council for approval, and it goes through the Finance and Governance Committee in that process as well. In front of you has got the consolidated draft budget as it stands, and it's draft version number 6 for that process so far, and there's still a couple more rounds, well, a couple more visits to committees that it will go through. The step after, you're only asked to be aware of it. There, as far as I can identify, there are no significant challenges to that. Any potential precept rise is well within the medium-term financial plan, and it addresses certain issues such as supporting the library service, as is recommended by the Community Plan Committee within their budget aspect. And that is all absorbed within that, within a pretty small consideration for precept increase there, about 4.5% as it stands in this draft version. At this time, unless you're minded to do so, you're not asked to amend it, but you're welcome to as council. You're the executive body. It will come back to council at the start of December for its final coat of looking at when it will be recommended to council by the Finance and Governance Committee at the end of November. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Hogben.
Yeah, at a recent meeting, I think it was of Finance and Government, there was a kind of, what you would call it, a consultation group or a working group was set up, I think it was there, to discuss or consider in an informal way devolution of services.
That was at O&I.
It was O&I, okay, well, so that's still obviously a work in progress. I'd be interested to know from yourself, Pete, that what you might expect to come out of that, because a theme is going to be what is our attitude as a council towards devolution of services from whomever.
Okay. Through O&I committee, that came from a proposal agreed that the council considers positively how it might address local service delivery, which includes devolution or delegation of services and assets in the local community. That's something that is a well-mapped process nationally through the Localism Act 2011, and it's down to each local council and its district or unitary authority to decide what that might look like. I was directed to make an approach to Cheshire East to make them aware of that position and the principle of positivity to local service delivery. I have had a response from the Associate Director, but with no details attached, and they said they'll arrange a meeting, and I believe they will. So in a broader estimate of the process would be for Cheshire East Council to put within its priorities the need to address any risks to local service delivery and the potential to devolve those or delegate those. There's a difference between devolution and delegation. I apologise if everyone knows this. Devolution means it's passed on in its entirety in its absolute asset setting. So you would receive the assets and the services to deliver without any onward discussion with the principal authority. And delegation means they pass over the responsibility to deliver the service for a period of time. So, for example, their wholly owned companies are currently delegated to deliver the services associated with them. And those two, various different models work in different ways, and there's no divisive means to that phraseology, it's just different ways. It would be up to Cheshire East and ourselves to agree a priority list. They tend to start at the traditional municipal services of public realm maintenance, green space, shared space maintenance, that sort of thing. Sometimes cemeteries and sometimes other assets, community buildings, libraries are in there, although our library is very significant, we'd have to consider that very carefully. And within those priorities there comes hopefully a negotiated agreement about which ones are to progress at which times and what is the associated understanding of its costs. And at that point I cannot guess where we'll be. I will be in a position, I'm happy to be public about this. I don't think we have to be too hidden behind closed doors this one. I would suggest that it's only appropriate that any services that is delegated comes at least initially with its associated budget. That doesn't inflation-proof this council, but it inflation-proofs the other council, provide no reason to do it that way. Any service that would be offered to this council without any associated budget, I'm afraid I would have to recommend to this council wouldn't be sustainable, because that would lead to a significant impact on precepts locally, and that would be, I would say, an unreasonable challenge on the community.
Well, thank you, that's useful for all of us to bear in mind. So, thank you.
So at that point you have a draft budget version sits in front of you. I am not asking you to alter it, you're welcome to if that's what this council chooses to do, but it will come back to council in December anyway through that prolonged period of drafting.
Any further questions? Okay. Move on to item 11. To receive and approve the successful completion of the external audit, annual governance and accountability return, the AGAR 2022-23. Pete.
Yeah, the AGAR, as we know it, is our external government audit. We go through a number of tiers of audit, and I'll always tell everyone audit's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's about business improvement check. This year's audit has been a very positive scenario. We've had no checks or challenges from any of our auditors. They've signed them off very positively each time, and you are required, I'm afraid, by law to receive and approve your completed audit for the year, and it is there without any written concerns or issues on it, signed off by the government auditors PKF, Little John. So it's not very interesting because it's blank.
Councillor White.
Can I just clarify? It's very unusual to get such a clean audit, is it not?
It is, yeah. It's really positive. As members checking and reviewing governance structures through the year, which is not the most exciting part of your reason why you were elected, I'm sure, and equally then making sure that the officers are delivering according to those, including particularly along the financial regulations and the governance associated there. We went to an internal audit, and we've got a very stringent internal auditor, and he returned already within a couple of days, which I've never experienced or known of before. And this one came back from the government auditor without any issues or challenges or anything. So it was a nice, smooth process this year, which I'm very pleased to have received.
I'm sure we'd all, sorry.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Carry on.
I'm sure we'd all like to thank our clerk and his officers for the work that they've done in ensuring that we have got this clean bill of health, and it's not without your scrutiny and tight control of things that we know this is how it works.
It's also not without member oversight as well. That is a key part of the clean audit.
Yeah, but it's very well led by the clerk, and I think we should know that. Thank you. So I require a proposer for, sorry.
I just want to ask a question. The date, which is 0311, that's in November. So is that time for November?
No, there's no date. Which page are we on, sorry?
Sorry, that's 103. Unless it's American then. Is it using the American?
Yeah, no, it's not. You're exactly right. That's our internal auditor, and they do 2 audits, and they mistakenly well spotted. Our external auditor spotted, put the wrong year, but yes, they come on the 30th of November and did their internal audit.
That's November last year.
Yeah. Well spotted.
No, it could be the American.
It could be, but it wasn't.
The external auditor.
No, I read this.
I did. Well done. Right, could I have a proposer then, please, for this annual governance and accountability return? Councillor Y, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Graham. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 12, to note the date of the next meeting of full council.